G'day everyone, it's Bizer here for Bizer's Blog, episode 3, the special election edition. There's going to be an absolute corker, but to start off with, of course, this week we've got some pretty sad news. Speaking of the election, of course, the passing of legendary Bob Hawke, probably one of the best Prime Ministers we've ever had. And why is that? Because he sculled a yard glass, and for those of you that don't know what a yard glass is, it's 2.5 pints, 11 seconds. That is a ridiculous amount of beer. Bloody good on you, Bobby. May you rest in peace, mate. I had a beer for you last night. You bloody legend. Let's get on to the election talk later on, though. Not just now. So we'll do the normal stuff in the program through. Got a few letters to answer as well. I've got a special request from Bell from the Bell Tower Times about the birds. The debacle that I've been having the last couple of weeks from episode 1. So Bell, this one's for you. The birds, mate, they come in, as I told you, and they just flew in, and I've got this huge ceiling, like it's fucking huge. And the pricks just kept flying around inside. So they got into the bedrooms upstairs. One of them hid into the wardrobe, in some curtains, a little bit of poo. On the top little mezzanine area, everywhere, hanging on the pendant lights, hanging down, just moving up and down this 10-metre cable for the light there. Kept flying into the windows for about 3 or 4 hours. So they'd be on the pendant light. You couldn't reach them because they're, so high. You got to get them, maybe usher them out. Boom! Smack into the window, mate. And a bit dazed. One disappeared. The other one, dopey one, stayed in for another 45 after that. So... me and my mate had a bit of laugh trying to get the old birds out. Little swallows they were, not your standard little swallows that you might see floating behind me here. They were a little brown, a little bit of white, sharp sort of beak, bit of yellow on the bottom as well, and real sharp beak. So if you go near them, they just get you with their beak as well because they were shit scared. So there you go. That's the bird story wrapped up. So thanks for watching as well, Bell. It's bloody good of you to have someone as big as you, mate, watching a shitty little podcast like mine. So fantastic. Straight on to the Lego, all right? TV Talk, Lego Masters finale was on this week, and that was a fantastic show. It really was good. I loved it this week. We had the 3 episodes. Look, Maddie and Jimmy, look, unfortunately, they got voted out. They probably produced the shittest one in the first elimination. Unfortunately, even though their DeLorean was better than what Kale's was, Mr. Team Kale, forget about his mate, didn't care about him. It was all about what Kale wanted to do. Brickman, he knows nothing, obviously, because Kale goes, Kale scale's the way to go. I'm going to build my Lego huge. I'm going to build a DeLorean that's like 1/3 scale. I've got, 1/5 of the time I need to do it, but I'm a genius, I know best, I'm going to do it. So then he gets voted out next one. Sucked in, Kale. But the grand finale, that was fantastic as well. That was really good. I love to see Dave and G. They were really good, that roller coaster, that theme park. That was fantastic. Maybe the thing that let him down might have just been a little bit too much green, but personally, I would have voted for Dave and G because I thought they made the best one. Don't get me wrong, Henry and Cade's Poseidon with the big, thing there, getting the serpent, that was fantastic as well. That was great. I really like to see that. Very good creativity. The way that they did the Lego, put all the bits in, bit of NPU, the night part usage, and deserving to win. And don't forget Geordie and Miller. I think the funniest two, the coolest two of the whole Lego series. And go Flash Geordie when it comes to the marathon that Brickman has got you to do. I'm pretty keen to see how that goes. So keep it up, Geordie. And we'll get into the mailbag this week straight away because I've got a few letters to read out. So we'll get the iPad cranked up here and we'll get the letters straight up and we'll get into them in the mailbag. So I've got one here from a bloke who calls himself the King Eagle. Now I've heard about a bit about the King Eagle here, and I've heard that the King Eagle is in the West Coast Eagles cheer squad. He travels around with them a little bit, and he's known for giving his own players a signature spray. That's right, not the opposition, but giving his own players a spray. Maybe that's what we need down at the Pies, because who won the grand final last year? That's right, King Eagles team, West Coast Eagles beat the Pies. My team. So I wasn't happy about that. So King Eagle, here's your letter. I appreciate you watching too, mate. It's really good. Grand final recap for the pod. Well, King Eagle, I was with you for the granny, and the week was great. The lead up to the week was fantastic. The prelim was fantastic. Going watching Richmond, Collingwood game, that was fantastic with the old lady. Flew back over away a few days, chilled out, a few beers, decorated the house, and got back on my merry way back over to Melbourne, and obviously caught up with you, King Eagle, and had a grand final breakfast. And yeah, one of us was going to go home sad, and unfortunately that was me, because the day was fantastic, but at the end of it all, I was a little bit upset by it, and I didn't catch up with any of the Collingwood boys, mates that I've got afterwards, and I think everyone just scattered and went home, to be perfectly honest. I just ended up at some shitty bar, and ended up meeting two of my mates from over here in Perth. Big shout out to Lenny, congrats mate, it was a good night catching up with you straight after the game and having a cold beer, mate, and it was good. And an old mate of mine from down here in Dunsborough, a pro golfer, it was good to see him as well, so good to see both of you. But apart from Midge as well here, shit, I just gave his name away, no good. Views on organic beer that tastes like our favourites due to the price rate. Well, personally, I hate fucking organic shit because it just encompasses the vegans and veganism and fuckwits like that. And I don't like vegans at all. They shit me off, they really do. But if it meant getting cheaper beer instead of paying $62 like I did last week for a carton of VB and paying $40 like it used to be 10 years ago or so, I'm all for it. As long as it tastes the same and there's no difference, yeah, who knows? It could be the way of the future if it means bringing the price down, because, yeah, it's pretty expensive. So good question there, King Eagle. And the last one, thoughts on the vegan protest as well, blocking the Melbourne CBD about a month or 6 weeks ago. Well, we all know I fucking hate vegans. They can get stuffed. They're just shit stain on society. Seriously, going to people's properties and carry on like pork chops. I wouldn't do that to you, and these other poor people wouldn't do it to them to get their point across. So don't go and do it that way. And also, like, you fucking morons. Think about this one just for a second. If I was going to get a point across to someone, going and stopping in front of their day and fucking their morning up, fucking their whole life for the day, meaning they'll have to sit there for 5 hours waiting for you fuckwits to move out the way, it's not going to get them to go, oh yeah, you've got a ripper point, I'm going to come and join your cause. Not at all. What it's going to do is make people who might have thought that you had a good cause go, see you later, I don't want to hear it because you're a pork chop. So, if you want to get your message across, get it across properly, but don't be a fuckwit about it. And tell you what, a shout out to the builders who brought the ham from Coles and threw it at the vegans that time during that disturbed their workday, because that was bloody fantastic of them for getting back. And the bloke who held up the little sign that says I love bacon while the protesting as well. Fucking mate, you've got my vote straight on the ear right there, I reckon. Now, next letter on in the mailbag this week. This one's from Benny. G'day Benny, how are you mate? Love the podcast. I was hoping you could discuss the following. What could the leaders of today learn from the great Vale Bob Hawke? Well, look, this is a great topic, Benny. Mate, the leaders from today could learn how to drink a beer, first of all. ScoMo is pretty close to it though, because he's the only leader I've seen in the last period of time that goes and has a beer all the time, so he's getting there. I really think he is. Bobby Hawke was a champ, mate. He knew economics, which, you know, Labor people just don't know. Traditionally, they've not known that, but he had the fight about him as well. He knew what to do. Obviously, brought the Medicare in, did all the other fantastic things there as well. Bloody good bloke was Bobby Hawke. And look, one of the former PM said it today pretty well, and he's copped a bit of backlash for this, but I think he's right. He was a Labor man with a Liberal brain. So, had the heart of a Labor man, but had the smarts about him as a Liberal man. And I'll tell you what, that's why he was successful for a while, doing what he did back then. And I'll tell you what, I hope that this Scott Morrison bloke, if he gets in, goes, you know, a bit of the grit heart there as well, because that's what this country needs at the moment. a bit of that. So there you go, mate. That's my thoughts on that. They could learn from him in that way how to drink a beer and how to take a bit of both sides into politics. Because at the moment, it's just one side this way, and there's such a big gap between the middle. And that middle is starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and something's got to fill that void. So whoever gets in tomorrow, I reckon take a little bit out of old Bobby Hawke, and mate, the bloke's got a bloody cigar in his mouth. Christ's sake, when was the last time you saw a bloody politician with a cigar in their mouth like that? You haven't for a long time. That's why Bobby Hawke was loved by all Australians. Next letter on. Thank you, Benny, for that one, by the way, mate. That was good. And we might go a bit longer today. The election edition could be a 20 minutes episode instead of 15. We got from Anna here. How has the election affected the splash for cash economy in recent months in WA? Look, I didn't think there was a splash for cash economy here because we haven't had one for a while, because no one's really spending any cash. If we've got cash, the old people are keeping it, and they're just not spending it very much at the moment. Sales are down across the board in many things still, as much as they try and talk it up. Gee whiz, it's down the gurgler, and it has been for some time. We've got to admit that we've got a problem financially around our country. We needed to do that 4 or 5 years ago. If we had done that, we'd be gangbusters right about now. But it's taking a long time. WA's slowly building, of course. The East Coast recovered a lot quicker than what West Coast did. And as a result, we'll be right. But depending on what happens, of course, tomorrow, will determine what happens with our economy, whether or not we really have a hit in our retail spending or not. So time will tell. So good letter there. Thanks for that one. Now, give me a sec, need a coffee. Bloody tired watching all this shit, getting ready for this. It takes it out of you, this election stuff. It's really crazy. There's a shitload of papers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 papers I've just read here the last couple of days to have a look at all the election stuff. Watch speeches as well. So it's all happening. It's all happening. Now, before we go to full election talk, because most of you will fucking turn off by that stage, but don't, because I've got something at the end of it if you don't, and you'll like this, because it will lead on to the next episode. I don't know what that is yet, I just made that up, so we'll find it out. But we'll go into sports straight away now. A-League Grand Final, that's going to be an absolute corker on Sunday. I told you Perth Glory would get through. They fucking did it hard. They didn't want to really get in there easily. They sort of wanted to tire themselves out for this game and test themselves. I'm going up to that. Should be a good game. I've been, Perth Glory supporter for 25 years. Yeah! No, I've not ever... I think I've been to one Glory game in my life. But just an opportunity to go see a cool event. Not really much happens here in WA, so... when a good event happens like that, that's not West Coast Eagles playing, I'm generally all over it. So it's good to get in there. So go to the Glory, hopefully have a win, and then I won't have to drive home back down here for a couple of hours after that in Sad Spirits. I'll be pumped up, not that I really give two shits. Not much cricket talk at the present time. That Marnus Labuschagne got 100 in the county cricket overnight. So good lead up to the Ashes for him with the bat. And obviously, a few other guys doing a few things, bits and pieces, getting in the mix, doing the training. We've got Davey Warner back in his team colours. So I think it's going to be a good thing for Australia coming up to this World Cup and the Ashes campaign as well, having the experience back in the side. Considering we've been going so well without those boys, bring a bit of experience back in. And I think we'll be real grounded for this World Cup campaign. Quick one, Nicholas Kyrgios. Nick Kyrgios, what are you doing, mate? He had another meltdown, so he spat the dummy. And look, many people have said this before. If you can't play tennis with a backswing noise, or someone, when you're doing your backswing and someone goes or moves around or talks, like, fuck's sake, you get paid millions of fucking dollars. Learn how to play tennis with noises in the background so you don't get distracted. It's pretty easy. I can do this podcast out here with no budget with noises in the background. So you can do it, getting paid millions of dollars with a bit of people making noise behind you when you hit the ball. Because Jesus Christ, mate, the noises are quieter than the bloody noises that, you all make when you hit it anyway. So come on, it's not a problem. I don't understand why you all have to be so precious on that. But spit the dummy, because he gets penalised. So he's kicked the bottle, smashed the racket, thrown the chair across the court. Kyrgios is at an absolute mare today, but we love him for that reason. That's the reason he is, such a lovable, likeable bloke over here. A lot of people don't like him, a lot of people do. I personally like the larrikinism in it. It brings something a bit different and funny to the sport, which is otherwise a little bit boring these days. Formula One recap from the weekend, of course. It was in Barcelona in Spain there. Fantastic race. Lewis won it across, of course, on the start. Taking off really well, got past Valtteri. Max Verstappen, fantastic drive. It really was a good drive from Max, but Ferraris, once again, shithouse. Are they going to come to the table this year? Are they going to come to the table in the turbo hybrid era? I like to hope so. I'd like to see them come close to winning a race this year. I really would. As much as being a Mercedes boy myself, love to see Mercedes win the entire season this year. Some kind of world record. But just a bit of competition would be fantastic from the Ferraris. We'll get on to the AFL quickly before we move on to election talk. This is going to be a big podcast this week. I tell you what, a big one. Hope you're enjoying it, guys, by the way. AFL, Gary Ablett. What is this bloke? What's wrong with him? Gillen, what's going on? Is he a protected species or what? This bloke, 2 weeks in a row, has whacked people in the head, nudged them with the elbows, the fists, the bits and pieces like this, and he's got off again. I think it's because he's won a Brownlow medal. Nat Fyfe did the same thing, got off last week, but I don't necessarily think it's because of his Brownlow medal that saved him in the past, because he has been rubbed out. Mind you, the time that he got rubbed out, it was pretty obvious that he had to, and if it was one of those 50-50 ones, I reckon he would have got off, and it would have had a pretty good record as well. But the incident that he had to get rubbed out for last year or season before or whatever it was pretty severe, so had to get an example made of him. Tom Boyd retiring, only 23 years old, but look, worth every cent for the Bulldogs, that was. Won him a premiership. This month of football was something to be remembered, because he was the X factor. He was part of the reason that the Doggies got up and won. So good on you, Tommy, and all the best in your retirement, mate, in the future. So, keep going, whatever you want to do, mate, in the next part of life. Tips round 9. We'll get into them. Eagle, Demon, Eagle. Magpie, Saint, Magpie. Lion, Crow, Lion. Cat, Dog, Cat. Bombers, Dockers, Dockers. Ruse, Swans, Ruse. Power, Sun, Power. Tigers, Hawks, Tigers. Giants, Blues, Giants. And that is the round 9 tips this week. So, don't know how many I'll get right. I should review them, really, from last week. I might do that next week, because I don't even know how many if I get right. Now it's time for the Democracy Sausage Talk. Election time, that's right, we're on to it. So the Democracy Sausage is tomorrow. So if you don't know where to get your Democracy Sausage, Google have got this wonderful thing, and I'll include it in the links, where you can find to get your Democracy Sausage when you're voting. If you're a vegan, fuck off. Don't vote. Obviously you pre-poll. People that pre-poll get fucked. Seriously. You got no idea. You're not listening to the election. You're not seeing what's going on. You're making an uneducated decision about what you want to vote for. You're voting on emotion by pre-polling. Or you're a vegan because you don't like the smell of sausages and you want to keep away from them. So bring on the Democracy Day sausage, I say, and get on the links and have a look to see where that is. Now, I was watching yesterday, of course, the big talk is the election. And if you'll switch off now if you want, because it's pretty much everything except the election talk. So if you don't want to hear that, it's been a bloody ripper talking to all of you this week. Actually no, shit list. So you got to wait. That's right, the shit list is coming out. So election talk. I was watching the speeches yesterday and watching Bill and vote for change. He says, vote for change. Everything. Vote for change. Vote for change. We're going to raise the wages up for the penalty wages and stuff like that, and we're going to lift the base wage up. And I thought, great, geez, for my family, we've got a business, and they've got a business that's been around for a fair while, and in a good industry that traditionally has, been a steady source of income, not get rich like people think, just steady average income. Now, by having to increase these wages, at the moment our profits are already down, currently not going through a great great deal, probably losing money like most other businesses going around Australia at the moment, just between month to month, it changes. We're going to increase our wages. This is what we're talking, penalty rates, all this crap like this. Who pays for it? Does the prices of items go up? I don't think they do, because consumers want items to go down more and more and more. But where's the money come from? So we're struggling to put the food on the tables, a lot of people. A lot of businesses around town, not just here, around the country are struggling with that. Some are going really well, some aren't going too well. So if we increase that stuff, more businesses are going to go broke, more people are going to be left in the dark. If you want more money, go and get a job that pays you more money. It's pretty bloody simple. If you don't want to work the weekends, don't work it. But the problem is with all these people with the penalty rates, all they want to do is work the long weekends. They want to work the weekends where they're getting paid the higher money. And when the real work happens Monday to Friday, they don't want to be seen because they're not getting paid as much money. So it makes it even harder for the businesses along the way. So that was one thing that I really didn't like what Bill said. He's an absolute spastic when it comes to answering questions, because the bloke can't answer a single question. He handballs it off to his best mate, KK, or whoever other minister's sitting around near him. So, look, I hope he doesn't get in tomorrow. I think he's going to, though, unfortunately. Sportsbet have already paid it out, and I hope Sportsbet backfire on them. I really hope it backfires on Sportsbet this week. ScoMo, reading his policies, look, all right, some of them are archaic. I understand that. But we've got to stay with the same guys, in my opinion, of what we currently got. Because with change, we haven't got to see the whole cycle of politics work yet. We haven't seen it. We're at that stage now where one more term, we'll get to see the full cycle. And then if we're not happy at the end of that term, once we've got a proper single government in one side, we can then go, bonzo, we don't like you, bugger off. Now we're going to give these other guys a big stint at trying to get their job right. And then we'll work out what the GO is. But we're still a very young country on this one, so still chops and changes and chops and changes. Let's go back to what Bobby Hawke had to do, or Johnny Howard, the two best PMs in my opinion, forever, in my opinion. Bobby Hawke, fantastic for a Labor man. Johnny Howard, fantastic for a Liberal man. Can we get a bit of both of them, please? A little bit of both this time round. I hope Scott Morrison wins, because then we can see him have a beer. I really do. But Bill is more than likely going to get in. So there's going to be a little hard times, in my opinion, coming up to that. And then we look, we look at all these papers. Today we've got the Financial Review in front of us here. And, well, my opponent said, this is from Bill Shorten, this is not the time to turn back. Well, delay on climate change is not the way forward. He's focusing his whole thing on climate change. Yes, there needs to be some form of climate action, 100%, but he's playing on the heartstrings of the nuffies, the PC brigade of our country to get in. I really hope that he doesn't get in, because this bloke has got no policies whatsoever. Anyway, let's move on to my shit list. You're on the shit list, Bill Shorten, for that. But the real people on the shit list this week are people who can't use fucking indicators. I tell you what, indicate roundabouts. All right, so you're coming up to a roundabout. It's pretty bloody easy. If you're turning right, you indicate right. Cool. If you're going straight, you do fuck all. If you're going left, you indicate left. Pretty fucking easy. Geriatric people, especially in our community over here, because we've got an average age of 65, they indicate right to go straight. Or left. Yeah. It's bloody ripper. Another really good one on my shit list today is this one that I got from my mate Bell, and the feminist fuckwit in Boyart Brook, Bogan, fuckwit feminist, who tried to turn your Commodore getting impounded, presumably by a bloke, into an anti-women hatred tirade by posting on the back of your car, your Bogan ute, big printed out pages saying that it's sexist against women to have your car impounded, and taking a car off women is empowering, not empowering women. Well, hang on a minute. I think the police were just more so worried about that particular vehicle acting in a bit of a ridiculous manner there, love. It's not all about you. It's not about you women. It's just simplicity of that car was being driven in a bad manner. It's not rocket science. Don't try and turn it into something that it is not. That's why you feminist fuckwit from Boyup Brook with your Commodore Ute is on my shit list, number one. And the next thing, of course, on my shit list is this fucking weather, because it's freezing out here. That's it. I've had enough. We'll catch up with you next week on Bice's Blog, episode 4. Some new exciting news and a fresh new segment's going to be in that time around. I hope you've enjoyed it. You've stuck around for 25 minutes. It's been bloody wonderful of you all. See you again then.